March 1956, Hardin, Montana. A small town on the Bighorn River, 40 miles southeast of Billings, sitting flat and cold on the high plains where the wind comes off the Wyoming border without anything to slow it down. The only medical clinic in a 60-mile radius is a two-room building on Center Avenue between the hardware store and the post office. The man who runs it has been the only doctor in Hardin for 3 years. This morning, the building is locked. A hand-lettered sign on the door says closed until further notice. On the sidewalk outside, a woman is standing with a sick child on her hip, reading the sign. She has driven 19 miles on a frozen road to get here. At the far end of Center Avenue, a dusty station wagon has pulled to the shoulder. A man in a tan Stetson sits behind the wheel and looks at the locked clinic door and does not pull back onto the road. Nobody recognizes him yet. Here is the story. Dr. Samuel Briggs came to Hardin in the spring of 1953. He is 34 years old, trained at Meharry Medical College in Nashville, board-certified in general practice, with 2 years of residency at a hospital in Chicago behind him. He came to Hardin because the county had been without a doctor for 14 months after the previous physician retired and no replacement had been found. The county put out a notice. Samuel Briggs answered it. He drove from Chicago to Montana in a used Ford, with his medical bag on the passenger seat and his diploma in a cardboard tube in the trunk. He opened the clinic on a Tuesday in April of 1953 with second-hand examination tables and a used autoclave and a pharmacist in Billings who agreed to fill his prescriptions by mail. In the first month, he treated a broken arm, 2 cases of pneumonia, a difficult birth, and a ranch hand whose hand had been caught in a baling machine. He saved the hand. The ranch hand's name was Gus Fenner, and he told everyone in the county what the doctor had done, and for the first 6 months, the clinic was busy, and nobody said much about anything, except that it was good to have a doctor in town again. The trouble started slowly, the way trouble starts in small places. It was not one thing. It was a series of things that individually could be explained away, and together could not. The county board meeting in September of 1953, where the question of the clinic's lease was tabled without explanation. The pharmacist in Billings who began taking longer to fill the prescriptions and then stopped filling them altogether in the spring of 1954. The bank in Hardin that declined the clinic's application for a small equipment loan in the summer of 1954 without providing a written reason. The families who had been coming to the clinic, who quietly stopped coming. The ones who drove to Billings instead, 40 miles each way on a 2-lane road, rather than come to Center Avenue. Samuel Briggs is not a man who quits easily. He is a man who drove from Chicago to Montana with a cardboard tube on the passenger seat because a county needed a doctor, and he was a doctor. He found a new pharmacist in Miles City. He bought equipment secondhand from a hospital in Billings that was updating its inventory. He kept the clinic open 6 days a week. He treated whoever came through the door. By the winter of 1955, fewer people were coming through the door, not because they were not sick, because they had been told, in the ways that people in small towns are told things without anyone saying them directly, that the clinic on Center Avenue was not the place they should go. The county board did not renew the clinic's operating agreement in January of 1956. The letter cited administrative reasons. It did not specify what those reasons were. Without the operating agreement, the clinic could not legally treat patients. Samuel Briggs locked the door on a Friday morning in March and put the sign in the window. He is sitting in the small room behind the clinic that serves as his office and living quarters, at a desk with the county letter in front of him, when the knock comes at the back door. He opens it. A man in a tan Stetson and a canvas ranch jacket is standing in the alley behind Center Avenue with his hands in his jacket pockets and the cold Montana air coming off the Bighorn in the street behind him. "Dr. Briggs." Samuel looks at him. "Yes." The man looks at the sign in the clinic window, then at Samuel. "Mind if I come in?" Samuel steps back from the door. They sit at the desk, Samuel on one side and the man on the other. The county letter is still on the desk between them. The man in the Stetson reads it without picking it up. He reads it the way a man reads something he has already understood before he finished the first sentence. "How long have you been here?" 3 years. The man looks at the room. The examination tables visible through the interior door. The autoclave. The second-hand equipment that Samuel has kept in working order with the same care he keeps everything. How many patients in 3 years? Samuel is quiet for a moment. I stopped counting at 400. The man looks at the letter again. Administrative reasons. That is what it says. The man sits back in the chair. He is quiet for a long moment. Outside, the wind pushes against the building, and the old frame of it creaks once and goes still. Where are you watching from? Drop your state in the comments. I want to see how far this story reaches. What do you need? The man says. Samuel looks at him. He is a careful man, precise in the way doctors are precise, and he does not answer a question before he has thought about what the answer is. The operating agreement is a county decision, Samuel says. I cannot change that from here. I'm not asking what you can change. I'm asking what you need. Samuel is quiet again. He looks at the letter. 3 things, he says finally. The operating agreement reinstated, a bank that will process the clinic's accounts without conditions, and a pharmacist who will fill prescriptions without delay. The man nods once. He takes a small notebook from his shirt pocket. He writes something in it. He puts it back. He stands up. He picks up his hat from the desk where he set it when he came in. He looks at Samuel. Don't take the sign out of the window yet. Give me until Monday. Samuel looks at him. It is Friday morning. Today is Friday. I know what day it is. The man puts his hat on. He looks at Samuel one more time, the way a man looks at someone whose measure he has taken and found satisfactory. Monday. He goes out the back door into the alley. He made 4 calls that Friday. The first was to a man he knew in the Montana State Legislature in Helena, a man who owed him a favor from a fundraiser 2 years earlier, and who had the kind of relationships with county boards that county boards paid attention to. He was on that call for 18 minutes. The second call was to the president of a bank in Billings, a larger institution than the one in Hardin, a man who had done business with Wayne's production company and who listened carefully for 6 minutes and then said he understood. The third call was to a pharmacist in Billings, a different one than either Samuel had used before, recommended by the bank president, a man who said he could handle the prescription volume for a rural clinic without difficulty. The fourth call was back to the man in Helena, a follow-up, shorter, confirming that the conversation with the county board would happen before the weekend was out. On Saturday, the county board convened an unscheduled session. The meeting lasted 40 minutes. On Sunday, a county official drove to Hardin and slid an envelope under the back door of the clinic. Inside the envelope was a reinstated operating agreement, signed, effective the following Monday. Samuel found the envelope Sunday morning. He sat at his desk and read the document 3 times. Then he made a cup of coffee and sat with it and looked at the clinic door for a while. Monday morning, he took the sign out of the window. The woman who had been standing on the sidewalk with the sick child on Friday morning came back Tuesday. Her name was Helen Marsh, and she had driven 19 miles again on a road that had not gotten any warmer. The child had an ear infection. Samuel treated it. He told Helen to bring the child back in 10 days. She said she would. She did. Samuel Briggs ran the clinic on Center Avenue for 11 more years. He closed it in 1967, not because anyone made him, but because he had been offered a position at a hospital in Billings that needed a general practitioner, and the salary was enough to matter. He treated somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 patients in Hardin over 14 years. He never kept an exact count. Counting was not the point. John Wayne drove on from Hardin that Friday and did not speak of the clinic or the doctor to any reporter or any writer whose name appeared anywhere in print. He was in Montana for a location scout for a picture that did not end up filming there. He drove back through Hardin on his way out of the state on Tuesday morning. He slowed down when he passed Center Avenue. The sign was out of the window. He drove on. Samuel Briggs retired from medicine in 1981. He went back to Nashville where he had trained, where he still had family. He died in 1993 at the age of 74. His daughter, who became a physician herself, donated 3 items to the Bighorn County Historical Museum in Hardin in 2001. The first is the original operating agreement from 1953, the one Samuel signed when he first opened the clinic. The second is the reinstated agreement from 1956, the one that came in the Sunday envelope. The 2 documents are mounted side by side in a single frame. If you look closely at the reinstated agreement, you can see where it was folded to fit the envelope. 3 horizontal creases still faintly visible in the paper. The third item is a photograph. It shows Center Avenue in Hardin, Montana, March 1956. A 2-room building between a hardware store and a post office. The clinic door is visible in the frame. The sign that says "Closed until further notice" is not in the window. The photograph was taken on a Monday morning. The museum placard beside the frame says only, "Hardin Clinic, Center Avenue, reopened March 1956. It does not say why it closed. It does not say why it reopened. It does not say who made 4 phone calls on a Friday afternoon in a cold Montana March. The documents and the photograph sit in a glass case near the museum's east window. The afternoon light comes through that window and crosses the case every day for about half an hour. Then it moves on. If this story reached you, do me a favor, pass it on. Share it with someone who kept the door open when it was easier to close it. There are more stories coming. Samuel Briggs had learned early in his time at Hardin that the best way to stay was to be indispensable before anyone decided he should not be there. In his first year, he did house calls. He drove the county roads in his Ford at 2 in the morning when someone called. He delivered 4 babies in farmhouses, 2 of them in winter, one of them on a kitchen table with a rancher's wife holding the lamp, and the rancher standing outside in the cold because he could not stand to be in the room. He set bones and sutured lacerations, and treated frostbite, and diagnosed a boy of 11 with appendicitis in time to get him to Billings before it perforated. He charged what people could pay. When they could pay nothing, he wrote it down in a ledger and did not mention it again. The ledger had many entries. He did not expect to collect them. He did not open the clinic to collect debts. He wrote to his sister in Nashville every Sunday. He told her about the cases, the ones that went well and the ones that did not. He told her about the land, which he found beautiful in a way that was different from anything he had seen before. Flat and enormous, and honest about its own severity. He told her about the winters, which were longer and colder than anything Chicago had prepared him for. He told her he was staying. He told her that every Sunday for 3 years, always the same 3 words at the end of every letter. "I am staying." The Sunday after the clinic closed, he did not write those words. He sat at his desk with the pen in his hand for a long time. Then he put the pen down and went to bed. That was the Saturday before the man in the tan Stetson knocked on the back door. When Wayne left through the alley on Friday morning, Samuel sat at his desk for a while without moving. He did not know who the man was. He had the face in his memory, a strong face, a face he felt he should place but could not, and he set it aside because placing faces was not what he needed to spend energy on. What he had been told was to wait until Monday. He was a man who had waited out harder things than a weekend, and he was capable of waiting. He spent Friday cleaning the clinic, not because it needed cleaning. He kept it clean the way he kept everything, with the same precision he brought to medicine, but because cleaning was something to do with his hands when his mind needed to be quiet. He wiped down the examination tables. He checked the autoclave. He inventoried the supply cabinet and wrote out what needed to be ordered when the clinic was open again. He wrote when, not if. That was a choice he made deliberately, on Friday afternoon, alone in a locked clinic in a small Montana town, writing a supply order for a clinic he did not yet know would reopen. When. He was right to write when. The county official who slid the envelope under the back door on Sunday did not knock. Samuel heard the sound of the envelope on the floor from across the room. He sat still for a moment. Then he got up and picked it up and opened it at his desk and read the reinstated operating agreement twice in the quiet of the Sunday morning clinic with the Bighorn River wind pressing against the windows. He did not know what had moved the county board. He did not know about the 4 phone calls. He did not know about the man in Helena or the bank in Billings or the new pharmacist in Miles City. He learned pieces of it later, over years, from people who had heard things from people who had heard things. He never learned all of it. He was not sure he needed to. What he knew was that on Monday morning, he took the sign out of the window and unlocked the door and turned the light on in the front room and sat behind his desk and waited for whoever needed to come in. Helen Marsh came in on Tuesday with her daughter. The ear infection had gotten no better over the 4 days the clinic was closed. Samuel treated it. He told Helen to come back in 10 days. She did. He saw that family for the next 11 years, until the day he locked the clinic door for the last time and drove to Billings with his diploma in the cardboard tube and his medical bag on the passenger seat, the same way he had arrived.